Greetings and welcome to my dear Pisceans out there. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Welcome to the channel. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. Thank you for your likes and subscribes and for following up on further content if you're new. Today we shall be encompassing a look into the 12th house in December of 2022. This is the auspices and energy of Neptune. As well, looking into the axis of the 12 and the 6, okay, through the great mirror. And essentially what we can see here are the influences of karma and the principles of exhaustion in the month of December of this karma. Okay, so this has to do with the exhaustion of an action or a way of doing things. We're going to look into also some of the more interesting karmic influences of this month, and then one incident in particular that may pertain to the energy of Pisces, and then move into the Great Mirror. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Now, the mystery of the 12 is a very interesting one, in that it relates to Neptune, but also, if broken down, it relates to the diversion, the diversion of Gemini. Okay, it's a very interesting thing, considering that there is a multiplicity principle that happens when trying to observe things in this reality as they link to something deeper, more esoteric, more profound. The most profound is the 12th house. The depths of the waters there are wide and deep. So there is a mystery about the energy of Pisces and the 12th house, in that all of it dissolves. There's a multiplication. There's a need to look into the various manifestations of what could be. And then it dissolves, it disintegrates, it comes back to the monad or the one. So I think it's interesting to know this secret, but it's also difficult to explain it. The 7th house is activated in the month of December. This is indicated through Virgo, which is the 6 of Pentacles. Mercury very much will take precedence in the month of December. And with this, there's an ability to be very self-reflective, self-critical, also critical of others, and also to understand the behavioral aspects of others, especially as it pertains to work. Okay, but work is on the cards right now. There's something about what needs to occur in terms of diverting and to splitting your energy, to being flexible, to giving to different places. Okay, there's one place of the past, one place of the future, and in the past there's a need to give to something that has worked in terms of your own work, and keep working on that. There's also something in the near future that has to do with a need to cut out elements of what is already manifested. Okay, I think there is a balancing act here, and there's a need to be flexible in your efforts when it comes to work, when it comes to things of your daily routine. In the near future, there's a possibility of the karma of the 8 of Rods happening. I think you will be gifted the foresight to look into the future, to be very aware of your horizon, and the need is to essentially cut out all from the past in order to reach that place, because work is on the cards. Okay, there is a need also for the secret of the 2 of Pentacles in the reverse, in order to understand how to balance out without becoming a fool, how to balance things out without becoming a fool. The idea here is to not to invest into one project in particular, or one relationship in particular. It's not to make a choice in terms of that. Even though it would provide a sense of balance, there's something about the general feeling of mistrust when it comes to past situations, when it comes to things that you've chosen with other people to chosen to choose and to make a reality. You're coming up with a point of clear sight, and this is hindsight as well as a futuristic intuition, okay, that will help you on your path of balancing out work opportunities as well as relationship opportunities, okay. And I think it's a very beautiful energy indeed. Now, we're going to look into one element of what you may be working on that may need polishing up in terms of the incidental part of this reading. We're going to go into it. Yes, so there is a need for a self-reflection right now in December. In December, there will be a point of stillness. There will be a need to be reflective of the quality of work in which you put out with others. There will also be a need to give to all those who are concerned in terms of the humane, in terms of your connections, just to make things civil, okay? You would give only what is necessary to make things civil, to make things equal. And to do this, especially with a particular situation, it would require the scissors of discernment. It would require a way for you to be protected, to cut out things that may not be working for you, okay? This is a painful process because it will bring forth the element of justice, truth, and equanimity for all. The thing is that you may have to essentially cut yourself out as opposed to cut others out of certain situations. That's the thing. Because you are still very much influenced by one connection in particular that sort of keeps you on edge, that keeps you sort of very much focused on your own appearance, but then also on the appearance of others, into discerning on that in which you do not need in order to progress in terms of the realm of truth, okay, and understanding. I think there may be on the horizon some form of restfulness, but it requires, excuse me, it requires a lot of downtime, a lot of alone time, okay? Now, if you are questioning whether or not a situation is good for you, you will have the strength to balance out and weigh out the various pros and cons, the various polarities of the connection, to understand its limits in terms of stress or duration or stamina, and then also to weigh out the power that is being balanced out between two different ways of being, two different people, two different things. And this will give you the strength, essentially, to place faith into your own efforts, okay? I think you are on the search for something to cross over on the horizon of experience on the next day, essentially, especially with the nature of time these days, how it is extremely fast and moving forward relentlessly. There's something about that where there could be a still point in the month of December where things slow down just a bit so that you can weigh out things, especially situations or love relationships, okay? And to cut out those that which you do not need in order to sort of understand your own shadow, your own shadows, your own elements that are distinguished from your connections. Okay. Now we shall be going into the part of the reading that is related to the Great Mirror. Okay, the Great Mirror is a tool devised by the Order of the Twin Sun in order to see particular karmas that may exist between Pisces and a significant other. Please take only what you will. This is primarily for entertainment and for guidance. About 50% of this should be true for the month of December. Okay, if you have been cocooning, there's something about the Mars dynamic that's going on now. I believe Mars is in Gemini. It's potentially even in retrograde. I could be wrong. But there's a sense that your actions will now lead up to something. Okay, they will lead up either to the Four of Pentacles or the Six of Pentacles. And because we had the Six of Pentacles show up earlier, there's a strong indication that Mars will be embracing the merits of Gemini. Okay, which has to do with the principles of coming back to relationships, to communities, to friendships in general. And you will be meeting these people to express something in terms of the lack of drive or the lack of orderliness. There's something about this that is coming into order in the month of December. Things will be pulling itself together. And essentially, if you felt like there was a deep cocooning period, then the transformation that comes through that, through the auspices of Gemini, bring forward something beautiful. Something in terms of a way of thinking that is more balanced, okay? And that's a very good thing. Now, this is how this person sees you, okay? They want to see someone who has come out of isolation to bring forward newness into the earth, okay? It's like springtime. But because we still are essentially dealing with a situation, a relationship, if you will, here, there's something about them that does this observation in a very guarded perspective. Okay, very, very guarded perspective. They have the intuition to understand what you're going through, and in fact, there's something about them that would want to express in a very extreme way a form of criticism or a form of truth that should be approaching you. Okay, not to scare you or anything, but there's something about this truth that will be extremely cutting. It'll cut to your core. I think there is a strong impulse of ego on their side, in which they need to express in a certain way the fire and the lightning that is within them. And on a very deeper level, you have a very intense connection here that requires the button of purgation to be pushed so that things can be understood in terms of an element of sacrifice. Okay, this has to do with bringing forward a type of stability between two different people, okay, that are going through their own experiences, in which the magic of Mercury will help you to understand this. Now, Mercury is essentially the mind. It's communications. It's also transactions, in terms of, you know, what's being tallied up, what's being understood in terms of transferring also solar energy into any situation. Okay, that's life force. And with this, there is something about a message or a very sort of, okay, this is the 8, no, the 7. There's a message of intensity here that needs to be understood, and it's being imparted upon you, given to you from this person. They have the power to do so, and they will give you this message about some sort of deep connection that you share with them. And as you're coming out of this place, there's something about you that is also still going through a mode of transformation, still going through a need to a very deep form of tapasya, in which you'll try to sacrifice something about you, so that you would have a total disintegration, and then you would also have a proper foundation in which to bring forward something. It's like you're bringing down yourself or another person in order to come up with a structure that actually works, okay? And this comes during a point of your life where you are trying to be very much self-illuminated, okay? Self-realized. There's like an italics about this reading, wherein the stresses of how you express yourself are written on the wall, and this wall is extremely ancient, okay? And it's a very intense thing. This reading is not easy. It's a very intense reading. But what I do see here is essentially what is coming about is truth, but it does not have to be totally communicated. There's something about their judgments about you, that they respect you, but then they also are quite ignorant about what you really are about, which is this sort of self-destructive quality. It befuddles me. I mean, because Mercury is here, it's a gift, but then it's not being used. Okay, so communication is not being used. Self-awareness about behavioral sort of systems, about social interactions, it's not being noticed. It's not being understood. I mean, it's not being used for what it should be. And there is this need for you to get rid of one tower in order to have another. And this is symbolized through the Tower card here, as well as the two towers of the Moon card. Okay. So it's a very intense thing. What I do see here, though, is a progression of the triplicity of water for you. There is a need to become totally free and independent through the more spiritual aspects that you may be going through, and this excludes anyone else. It excludes anyone else in terms of that. I mean, that's the trick about the spiritual path, is that it requires deep privacy to know the beloved, to know Krishna, to know Christ, to know Buddha. It requires extreme forms of tapasya, which is like abstinence, control, self-control, practice, sadhana, meditation. And this it can't be done with another. It cannot. It has to be done within the self. Yeah. So the advice is to take this Two of Cups that shows up, and this is within the mirror. This is between two people, and to express the need for independence. The irony is that even though you are expressing this, both of you are expressing this need to be alone, it is being mandated by the celestial order of the Star card. Okay. And then it points to the Four, or the inner world. There's something about the sacrifice of the Two of Cups, or the Two of Cups in the reverse, in which there is the dynamic where a system or a relationship collapses. What emerges is essentially the true cup, the true chalice. Okay, one cup falls, the other remains. And this has to do with the nature of understanding through detached forms of Aquarian capacity to understand the nature of real love, whatever that means. I do wish you very well. Thank you. Bye-bye.